Let me read you a slightly different translation, paraphrase actually, of that earlier scripture, John 13. I'm going to begin at verse 33. I don't think I didn't give Ken all of this. But listen, and the last part will come up. My children, my time here is brief. You will be searching for me, and as I told the Jews, you cannot go where I am going. So I give you a new command. Love each other deeply and fully. Remember the ways that I have loved you, and demonstrate your love for others in those same ways. Everyone will know you as my followers if you demonstrate your love to others. Remember the ways I have loved you, said Jesus. What does that mean? And what would that look like? The ways I have loved you. Maybe there's more than one answer. Marion Sangster showed that clearly to me. Just after midnight, January 25th, 1982, Nancy went into labor. It was midwinter in New Brunswick. We lived in the middle of the bush, small village, with 50 miles of forest around us, an hour's drive from the hospital in Fredericton. I was scared. I called Marion Sangster, a retired nurse who was calm, capable, and unflappable. Minus 30 degrees centigrade and snowbanks higher than the car's roof did not faze her. I'll follow you in my car, she said. If anything goes wrong, car failure, stuck in snow, I'll be right there. Nancy's water broke and contractions increased after 20 miles of frost heaves on those New Brunswick winter roads. But Marion followed us the whole way. Her headlights were always in my rear view. I knew she was there. And we made it in time, and Heather Joy was born at 4:30 a.m. on that freezing winter morning. Fast forward 27 years. We've long since left New Brunswick, but on a trip back, we stopped in Macadam for visits. Marion didn't live there anymore. Now approaching 90, widowed, she had moved into a senior's residence in Fredericton. We tracked her down, got the address, drove there, found her room, and when I walked in, the look of astonished pleasure on her face was worth all the effort. She stood up, and after Nancy and I hugged her, she stepped back and said, "Now I know that you really love me." Wow. I had not got it until then. This is a quarter century of continual contacts, always long Christmas letters, all the news, pictures of the kids, phone calls, several visits already to New Brunswick. But for Marion, the fact that we had come to see her in her new location, our physical presence communicated her importance to us and our love and respect for her. Jesus' command in our scriptures is clear. One translation words Jesus' instructions this way, as Ken had on the screen a moment ago. Love each other deeply and fully. Remember the ways that I have loved you, and demonstrate your love for others in those same ways. Jesus is telling us that he showed his love for us in more ways than one. There are many ways to communicate our affirmation and our affection. I think it would be helpful to think these things through using Dr. Gary Chapman's. He's a psychologist and a marriage or family therapist, and I want to use his 5 love languages. I have 2 copies of the book. I've got multiple printouts. If anybody wants just a short synopsis of his teaching. I can give it to you this week. Most of us grew up learning the language of our parents, English, French, whatever, and that becomes our native tongue. Later, we may learn additional languages, but usually with a lot more effort. I mean, the province of Ontario tried to teach me French. 13 years they tried to teach me French. In the area of love, it's similar. Your emotional love language and that of your loved ones may be as different as Mandarin is from English. The way you express and the way you receive, hear, communicate. No matter how hard you try to express love in English, if your beloved only speaks Mandarin, if you just use words, it ain't going to communicate. You can get insight into what is your own love language by asking yourself these questions. How do I express love to others? What do I complain about the most? If I'm feeling I'm not getting love, what is it I complain about? You don't really love me. And what do I request most often? Speaking in someone else's love language probably won't be natural for you. We have to learn these other languages. Dr. Chapman says, we're not talking comfort or natural. We're talking love. Love is something we do for someone else. So often people love one another, but they aren't connecting. They are sincere, but sincerity isn't enough. So, I'm going to outline these 5 love languages, and I'm hoping that as you're hearing, you'll be processing, filtering, analyzing which ones do I naturally speak, communicate, and which ones does my mother-in-law or my youngest child respond to. Just think in those ways. First one, obvious. Words of affirmation. Words. Actions don't always speak louder than words. If this is your love language, if words are your language, unsolicited compliments mean the world to you. Hearing the words, I love you, is important, and hearing the reasons behind that love will send your spirit skyward. Conversely, insults can leave you shattered and are not easily forgotten. Words really hit you and affect you, either positively or negatively. Verbal compliments or words of appreciation are powerful communicators of love. I'm going to suggest 3 types of words communicate love. I think they're on screen. Yes. Encouraging words. What does encourage mean? It means to inspire courage, to strengthen, fortify, build someone up. When we lack courage, that often hinders us from accomplishing the things, from trying. We need to be encouraging our children to try new things. We need to be encouraging each other when we get stuck in a rut. You can try that. It's okay. You can do it. Let's give it a go. Perhaps you or someone you love has untapped potential in one or more areas of life. Encouraging words, that potential may be awaiting just that encouragement from you or from them. Kind words. If we're to communicate love verbally, we must use kind words. And that has to do with the way we speak. The statement, I love you, when said with kindness and tenderness, can be a genuine expression of love and can get through. Humble words. Love makes requests. Love doesn't demand. Real love speaks humbly, gently. If we make our needs known in the form of a request, not an ultimatum, it's much healthier. We're giving guidance, we're sharing information, but we're not demanding. Words are important in expressing our affection for others. If you want to work on showing this one, try to give your friend, your coworker, your loved one a different compliment every day for 30 days. A month of nice compliments. Work on it. Second, quality time. In the vernacular of quality time, nothing says I love you like full and undivided attention. For this type of person, being there is critical. And really being there with the TV off, or at least the mute on, fork and knife down, all chores and tasks on standby, and you looking focused, that makes your significant other feel truly special and loved. Distractions, postponed dates, or the failure to listen can be especially hurtful. This means giving someone your undivided attention, quality time. The love language of quality time, excuse me, the love language of, sorry, just a little kink, it comes every once in a while. The love language of quality time has many dialects. There's all kinds, there's Parisian French and there's Quebecois French, right? There's many dialects of languages, and the love language of quality time has many dialects. One of the most common is that of quality conversation. Two individuals sharing their thoughts and feelings. A relationship calls for sympathetic listening for the purpose of understanding the other person's desires. Of course, occasionally we must be willing to give advice, but normally just listen is an expression of love. Here are some practical listening tips. Maintain eye contact when the other is talking. Don't do something else at the same time. Don't multitask if you're really trying to have quality time. I know you have to multitask. Sometimes your child is there saying, "Mommy, where's this?" and you're unloading the dryer. Yes, you have to multitask at times. But quality time, you really focus. Listen for feelings and confirm them. Ask yourself, what emotion is this other person feeling? So as you're listening, you're really listening with this and this. What are they feeling? What's going on? What are they really saying to me? Observe body language. Watch them. Hey, Lori, thank you. Act of love. Did you see that? She loves me. Thanks, Lori. Observe body language. You can read, you can hear what people are saying if you're giving them quality time, you're really focused and you're noticing those things. Refuse to interrupt. I'm working on this one. Because interruptions indicate, I don't care what you're saying, listen to me. Right? Refuse to interrupt. And quality conversation also calls for self-revelation. Say what you're thinking or feel. In order for someone to feel loved, you must reveal some of yourself too. If you want to start showing this one, quality time, ask your loved one if there's anything they'd like to do with you, and find time to go and do it. Find time with your best friend, with your child, with your spouse, to do together. Playing golf, shopping for antiques, work on the flower beds and yard work. Doing it together is quality time as you're working, sharing as a team. Third, gifts. Don't mistake this love language for materialism. We're not just talking about going out and buying a new boat and giving it. Well, that might be nice. The receiver of gifts, the one who speaks this language and receives them, thrives on the love, on the thoughtfulness, on the effort behind the gift. If you speak this language, the perfect gift or gesture shows that you know and understand them, that you care, and that you're cared for, and that they are prized above whatever was sacrificed for you to give that gift to them. Conversely, a missed birthday or anniversary or a hasty, thoughtless gift communicates something terrible, and that's disastrous. And so is the absence of everyday gestures of gifts of gratitude and thank you. Almost everything ever written on the subject of love indicates that at the heart of love is the spirit of giving. Giving yourself, giving your thoughts. And I'm talking here about giving tangible, physical things. They don't have to be expensive. A gift is something you can hold in your hand and say, look, he was thinking of me, or she remembered me. A gift is a symbol of that thought, that you are known and cared about. And gifts come in all sizes, colors, shapes. Some are expensive, others are free. To the individual whose primary love language is receiving gifts, cost doesn't matter. Now, there's also an intangible gift that can speak more loudly than something that can be held in one's hand, and that's physical presence. You give yourself. I'm going to come to physical touch a little later, but physical presence in the time of crisis is the most powerful gift you can give. Your body becomes the symbol of your love, your expression of caring and support and affection. I was thinking about this week, and this became powerfully clear to me last year when my dad died. So many people, many of you, came to the visitation and the funeral service, and that said a ton to me and our family. The message was clear. My dad was respected and loved. People came from all his former churches, Windsor, Tillsonburg, Toronto. Our family received the gift of many people's love by their physical presence. So if you want to work on showing this one, find a way to show others you're thinking of them by giving them something. And it doesn't have to be expensive. A card, a batch of cookies, a note, flowers. Fourth, acts of service. Huge. Can vacuuming the floors really be an expression of love? This is me talking to me, by the way. Absolutely yes. Anything you do to ease the burden of responsibilities weighing on an acts of service person will speak volumes. The words he or she most want to hear, let me do that for you. Let me help you with that. Conversely, laziness, broken commitments, and making more work tells those who communicate in this love language that their feelings doesn't matter. People who speak this love language seek to please others by serving them, to express their love for them by doing things. You must have people in your life who, when you're going on a trip, they say, I'll make sure your passport's ready. I'll get that insurance. I'll take care of it. You must have people in your life, in your office, in this church, who say, let me help you with that. I'll take care of it. I'll step up. If done with the positive spirit, all of these are expressions of love. For someone whose primary love language is acts of service, And Lori just did one, bringing me water, unsolicited. These are crucial. You may give him or her words of affirmation, but they're thinking, cut the talk. If you really love me, you do something around here. You do something to help me. For them, actions truly speak louder than words. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't say it. And this generation's way better at saying I love you than, say, 50 or 60 years ago. We do say it much better. And we need to use this other language, which is, don't just say it, but also do it, show it, serve it. So if you want to work on showing this one, think about something that you feel pressure, that you feel nagged to do, and don't wait to be asked. Just do it. Get out there. See what happens if you, right out of the blue, give what is needed without being asked. Serve in a way that isn't requested. Lastly, the fifth one is physical touch. It's coming back. Hugs, pats, a touch on the arm, holding hands. All can be show ways of concern, of care, of joy and expressive excitement, of love. Physical presence and accessibility are crucial, while neglect or abuse can be unforgivable and devastating. In marriage, holding hands, kissing, hugging, and sex are lifelines for the person for whom physical touch is the primary love language. With it, when these are received, we feel secure in our partner's love. Sitting close when you're watching TV, instead of on opposite sides of the room, but sitting close together, it requires no additional time, but it can communicate that connectedness, that intimacy. When you reach out with tender touch, you create emotional closeness, if this is your language. Now, a lot of us may say, I didn't grow up in a touchy-feely family. That's just not my way. The good news is you can learn, especially this one. You can learn to speak this love language. Almost instinctively in a time of crisis, we give this. We hug people when we know they're overwhelmed. In a time of crisis, a hug is worth more than 1,000 words. Physical touch is a powerful love language. It gives support. It gives affection. It gives warmth. Have you ever had a time when you were in need of a hug or just an arm on the shoulder? What do you do to let others know that you need a gesture of physical? Can you reach out and grab a hand or just put a hand on someone's arm? If you want to work on showing this one, start small, just by paying attention to your own body language and your own comfort. And work up to incorporating more touch in the appropriate circles. I don't hug everybody around here. You probably noticed that. I hug my wife every time I walk by her out in the hall, and it drives her crazy. But because that's not her love language, and it is mine. I'm learning. But work up on these things in the appropriate ways and times. Give people the physical support. For guys, sometimes it's just one of those on the shoulder. So watch out. All right, that's the 5 love languages. And I think they're what Jesus commanded. A new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you. Jesus said, as often as you do it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you do it unto me. We love God by loving others. And we need to learn how to express that love. Having said that, how we express love will depend on our language and their language, their primary language. I have a friend, a really good friend, whose love language is words of affirmation. He's always freely giving encouraging words. I have a friend whose love language is acts of service. He walks around this place looking where he can help out. Just finding a place, anything. I have a friend who's always giving gifts, dropping by with flowers or cards, cookies, or a thoughtful present. I love seeing her coming into the church. All of these things make people feel special. Another who loves to take people to lunch, spend listening time as they share stories, quality time. And I have another who's always giving people hugs and pats on the back, smiles and waves at people on the street, physical touch. All of us are loving God by loving others. And we do that in many ways. The difference is in how we express our affection. So I'm hoping you are already processing and saying, what's my primary language? What dialects am I learning? And then start doing a look around your circle. My family members, the people I work with, my neighbors, people at church, and just start to process, how can I express my support, my caring, my affection for them? Here's the thing that as I thought about this and read on this, Jesus was the master. He really was. I know these 5 languages came from this psychotherapist and counselor, but I think Jesus instinctively or divinely already knew them and did them. Jesus spent quality time among the marginalized and the poor. He listened to their stories. He shared meals with them. He gave them the gift of his presence with them. He touched lepers and healed women who were considered unclean. Can you imagine what that must have felt like? Some of the people in that culture had to wear a bell around their neck so that wherever they walked and moved, even if somebody didn't see them, was coming around the corner, they knew they were coming. The bell was a warning. Don't, stay away, don't touch, I'm unclean. Jesus went to the people with the bell. He touched them. He healed them. Jesus was the master at this. I want you to really think about the last time you shook hands and looked someone in the eye, smiled, held their hand, and said, thank you. Or, man, it's good to have you, to know you. Or even said, I love you. Jesus did all of these things. Jesus spoke words of affirmation to his followers. He gave the greatest gift anyone could give. And every time we see the cross, we're reminded that Jesus gave us the gift of his life so that we could have ultimate peace, grace, and love. His life offered as a gift, a sacrifice. And when we receive this gift, when he tells us he loves us, we should do the same. We need to go out and be like Jesus. Offer ourselves back. And offer ourselves to him. This is my last point, and I'm winding it up. But I want you to think about, how can I say to God, how can I say to Jesus, I love you? Pinball talked about this last week. Do you remember? He talked about spending quality time with Jesus. I hadn't even given him my notes. He was way ahead of me. He talked about saying I love you. He had you turn and say to each other, didn't he? And he said, do that. Find 10 times a day. And when you go to work tomorrow, don't do it. I'm summarizing and reiterating what Pinball taught us last week. I didn't realize I was going to do that until last night when I was writing and finishing this. And I said, wow, he was way ahead of me. Love praises, love listens, love gives, love does, love embraces. So listen again to the words of Jesus. So I give you a new command: love each other deeply and fully. Remember the ways that I have loved you, and demonstrate your love for others in those same ways. Everyone will know you as my followers if you demonstrate your love to others. Amen.